All right, we are ready for the double ladder stitch. So it starts out a little bit oddly, and then once we get going, it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to come up on the one side and then go down on the other side. This is sort of inverted to how I normally am seeing it, but that's all right. And then I'm just going to leave this as a little bit loose for now. Come up in the middle. So my hand below is what's tensioning this. It's going over my fingers. Not too tight. And then down, same side here. There, not too tight. So I've made a little bit of an X. Now, this stitch is the one that seems a little strange compared to all that we have done so far. So we're going to do a nice big loop. Our loop will take us through the X that you can't quite see here, but I promise it's there. And with how small these are, it's okay if it's not entirely perfect. Try to avoid my other stitches. Hang on. This is why I want to leave these just a little bit looser. When in doubt, loosen them up a little bit. So I'm going to go over my first stitch, under the X it makes with my second stitch, avoid the edge of the trillium there. And now I can pull that a little tighter. Now I'm going to come around here and under the little X I've just made here. So this is the one stitch that's a little bit complicated. So we don't ever have to do that again in this row, but once I finish to here, I'll start again on this side, so we'll get to see that again. Now, that is going to come down on this side, and from now on, it will be up on the side we started on, down on this side. So I'm going to go over 2 bars in the middle and under the X. Try to avoid that trillium so my fingers of course get in the way of your view. Don't want to catch in here. There we go. Good. And then I'm going to come around here over 2 legs. And, sorry, that should have been up and over this bar. There we go. Over 2 legs, so that we're going over 1 bar, 2 bars, down. Once we've done a couple of those, it'll start to make sense. So, across, and now I want to go over 2 bars in the middle, and under. Good. And then under 2 legs, under, come on, 1, 2. Sometimes the stitches just want to be difficult. There we go. And down. And then this is a thing to keep an eye on with this thread. I don't want it to get any ideas. There we go. Good. Across. Remember that once we get going, it's just the same move over and over again. So I want to come over 2 bars, under and out the side. Tighten that up just a little bit. Come across the top there, past the 2. Sometimes I find it helpful to open this up first so that I can really see what I'm doing. There we go. there. Don't pull too tight. And down. Good. Let's get a couple more stitches of that on this line, and then we'll move over and start the main one. So we have 1, 2. Good. Around the top. Make sure that I know between these two is where I'm aiming. So, past. And there. Good. One more. And across. Good. 1, 2. Out the side. Make sure that I didn't get tangled in my thread. Don't pull that too tight. Open up where I want to be. Okay, that's just going to be difficult for the moment. And up. There we are. Sometimes thread just wants to do what it wants to do. Use your other hand to hold it down. Good. So, tack that down. And now let's start again over here. Now we see how this is a weird shape here because of the way that the leaf is angling. So that's fine. Means that I get to hide my edges a little bit better. So I want to come up on the one side, down on the other, just like we will be doing in the future. And then up in the middle of them. Good. Leaving this a little bit loose. There we go. And down over here. And I'm going to put that close to the first one just because I have this weird angle here. And I'm also not going to pull that tight yet because of that weird angle. So, and now our third stitch, which is the weird one, where I want to come under here and over the first one. Please ignore the fussy cat. I want to just bring this a little closer to both the camera and my eyes. There we go. So I've gone over the edge of this, under that X. Pause to pet the cat. And then gently pull through, come around, and over again. And again, if this gets fussy and difficult to see, that's okay, because the angle here is going to be very forgiving. So, down. And now, we get to start doing this properly. Up on the side where we'll always be going up. Over 2 bars, which are not really easy to see right now, but that's okay. Maybe we need to practice this in a non-metallic thread. There we go. Good. Around, under 2 feet. Up the center. So we're going over 1 bar that from the last stitch, over this top part here, and down. And now it should start to look recognizable. Don't get too worried about your tension on this stitch. It will kind of even itself out as you go. But it's a good stitch to practice first before you start using any fancy threads. It also looks just as nice when done in a slightly stiffer pearl cotton. So Maybe we'll practice it in the pearl cotton. Gotta get both of my hands in the way just to clear. When we get to the end of a thread, the metallic will start to get fussy. So there we go. I think I can get one more stitch out of this. I'll come across and remember, over 2 bars in the center. Ooh. Remember how I said it gets fussy? So I'll just guide that back over to my needle. See that lump there? See how it starts to fray at the end. Maybe don't play thread chicken like I do. So around the top, under 2 feet here. Come on. Time to get the angle right. Oh, jeez. There we go. And down. And a very important thing to note about this is that when you're switching threads, make sure that when you're tying your knot on the back, it's not very tight. You're not pulling really tightly because that can mess up the tension on the top. So I'm going to do a little bit more, and maybe we'll come back once we can see a little bit better in the wider sections. Welcome back. We've gone a little bit farther in the double ladder stitch, so we can maybe see it a little bit better now. So let's go back to over the 2 bars and out to the side. And then over the top, past the 2 feet, over 1 bar. Oh goodness. This particular stitch is an awful lot easier to do in the hand. And down to the side. Up again, over the 2 bars. So you'll notice, as we're doing this, we're always going to leave it going over 2 bars and past 2 feet. So I come out with 1 foot on the side. Oh, that got messy. Try again. Sometimes you'll get caught up. There we are. Over 2 bars, out with 1 foot on the side, but I have this brand new foot that I'm going to go past over the top, down past 2 feet, up, come on, in the center, not getting caught on my threads, and past this 1 bar, causing a mess, but also over the top bar. There we go. So let's pause for a moment just so I can show you the back of this. So we can see that we get solid bars as we go across, down on one side, up on the other for the ladder stitch. And from before we have the chain stitch outlines, and then the detached buttonhole that follows the same lines as we fill it in. As well, the ink from the veins is a nice thing to be able to see on the back, so that I can use that as a guide when I go to fill in these veins with chain stitch. So I'll finish that up, and we'll come back and do some more chain stitch.